Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. It is another beautiful Wednesday. Good morning, Lori. How are you?
Hello, Lauren. I'm doing good. We are full into summer right now. Don't you feel it like summer is on?
You know what, Lori? We haven't really had a ton of summer weather down here. So I'm in the Long Beach area, of course, and it's been hot.
Oh, yeah. Somebody else told me that it's been really hot. You know me, I'm never anywhere exactly, but you can guarantee one thing, wherever I am, there's cooler temperatures. So I've been kind of a highs of about 70, which is my happy spot. I do
Okay.
not like it any hotter than, well, 75 is my cutoff, that's kind of my cutoff. And so I've been staying within that range. I'm in the upper northwest, almost. If I got in the water and I swam really far, I would be in Victoria, Canada.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so I'm experiencing a new part of the country right now that's been really, really interesting.
Well, how about we get started? Looks like our numbers are starting to steady. So I'm going to go ahead. And,
Perfect. And we already got,
Emma,
Christine,
93? Really? Oh,
back in the webinar chat. Is she? And of course, Emma's there. 79, right? 93, Emma. No, that will not work. You know me. If it's hit over 75 and starts to hit to 90, I'm behind the steering wheel. I'm driving. I got wheels, man. I ain't experiencing that. I got
she's out of there.
I'm out of there. Exactly. Okay, Lauren, let's get going. We got a great show today. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I'm excited about today's guest. So let's go ahead and get started. Good morning again, everyone. My name is Lauren Simpson. I am with the SBDC, or the Small Business Development Center, and we are a national program with over 1,000 locations across the country. We offer no-cost services to local small businesses. Now, our services are at no cost to you because your tax dollars have already taken care of all of our fees. So stick with me. Because I'm going to get to the meat of why you want to make sure you take part in our services. So for the Los Angeles Regional Network, which is the network that I represent, you can see our physical center locations in front of you. You'll see that we're in Camarillo and Santa Clarita, Pasadena, all the way out to Laverne, which is that waymark near Ontario. And then we're also throughout Los Angeles, the South Bay, down into Long Beach. So here's the good stuff. Here's what we offer. Again, no cost. So we offer business advising to you. And so you're able to sit one-on-one with one of our business experts. And we have experts in various fields, marketing, finance, if you're just starting out and you are looking to create a business plan. If you have been in business and you're looking to acquire capital, we have an entire team. So it's called the ACT team, which Lori is a part of. That can help you with access to capital. We have experts that if you are a handyman, let's say, and you're looking to go into construction, we have someone exactly for you. And you might get lucky to sit with our guru of numbers, Miss Lori Williams, who, again, anything related to numbers and SKUs and all the things, Lori's got your back. And then we also offer virtual trainings. And so those trainings are going to be comprehensive workshops that assist your business in beginning, adapting, and or growing. So be sure you check into us so that you can find out more information on that. And speaking of, you can reach us by phone, 866-588-7232, or online, smallbizla.org/new client. Now, if you've been lucky enough to reach us, but you're outside of our network area, so that means you are outside of the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, or Ventura counties, please go to americassbdc.org/find-your-SBDC, and you'll be able to get connected with a local SBDC center. So really quickly, before I hand things over to Lori, please note that any questions you might have, let's plug those into the Q&A. Please, questions on topic, and then let's put those into the Q&A, and then the chat will be reserved for the little party that we have. I won't even call it little because sometimes it's a rager, but you'll find useful links. You'll find information on setting up an appointment with Lori. You'll find information related to previous recordings, as well as, again, the party that happens there. So it's just those who have joined today's session and, conversing about the topic at hand. So I'm going to kick it over to Lori because we have a really cool show today. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Laura. I know I love the way the chat evolved in that. I got to say thanks to the audience because neither one of us planned that, right? And I always tell people one of the things I think that's very unique about the show is the chat because it's kind of like you're listening to me being the show host, et cetera, and interviewing a guest while having a conversation with the audience. And I noticed that you guys have become friends with each other. And what I love so much about the show is the inspirational component because that's a component of me and it's a component I get to experience and pass on. So I just wanted to do a shout out to especially those frequent flyers that really created the chat format because that's where it evolved and it's such a cool thing. So let's get talking about today. You know, I've been doing this myth buster every week and I make a sentence or a couple sentences and then I talk about it. And I'm going to continue with the myth busters because they seem to be very popular. So I might have mentioned this one before because I'm not ticking off my myth busters as I mention it. So it might be a repeat, but I keep getting people confused about this. So a quick shout out about it. When I talk about a DBA, I'm talking about doing business as. It's also known as a fictitious name. So one thing that people do is they think that being a sole prop, the slang for sole proprietorship, is aligned with a DBA, like you are a sole prop and then you must get a DBA. So let me first tell you that the reason or the concept behind a doing business as is really at its core to allow you to do financial transactions in a name other than your surname or the registered company name. So for example, if I, being a consultant, just say I'm Lori Williams and I have you write a check or I have any kind of, a debit or a credit charge card go into my bank account and my bank account says Lori Williams, everything's aligned. The bank can accept the check because the bank account name is Lori Williams and the check was written to Lori Williams. I know we don't write checks a lot, but it's easier for me to explain it using a check. Well, say that I want it to be Business Simply Put in this example, okay? If I have you write a check to Business Simply Put and that is not the name on the bank account, then I can't deposit that check. So if I want to do business, market, or do financial transactions in a name other than my name or a name I registered my company under, I file a DBA. Now, DBAs can be filed and often are by sole props because people want to start a company and they don't want it to be restricted to their name. So that's where it became aligned with a sole prop and a DBA. But a company can also have a DBA because you may register your company as one name and then want to operate under a different name. Ironically, decades ago, when I had my high-level consulting firm, the name was LW and Associates, and Business Simply Put, guys, was a DBA. And then I remember that I actually had it on the back of my business card. And one of my friends said, one day this will be the front of your business card. And I was like thinking that would be great because I really want to work with the smaller companies rather than the big turnarounds. And so when I then re-registered my company in another state because I relocated, I chose the name Business Simply Put. But you can see the DBA was attached to my business and in that case. And then when I was in my 20s and 30s, my company was a sole prop, and so I had a DBA, LW and Associates. I've been all over with names and DBAs. So the first takeaway is a DBA isn't about just a sole prop. It's about allowing you to have financial transactions under a name other than your name or your company name. Now, an EIN is I always call it the social security number for a corporation. So if you're incorporated, you have to have it. It goes on your tax return. If you're a sole prop, it's a choice. You can either have an EIN number or you use your social security number. Some people don't like to use their social security number, so they get an EIN number. EIN numbers are gotten through the IRS website. Once again, if you Google it, make sure you're actually at IRS because there's a lot of different companies that will come up way before IRS.gov comes up. And it's really, some of them are scams, some of them are charging you for something you shouldn't be charged for. So that is the purpose of a DBA or fictitious name. That is the purpose of an EIN. That's when a sole prop needs it and when it does not. Hopefully that clarified some things for people that may not understand that. Okay, speaking of Guru of All Numbers, Financial Literacy Series, Session 2 is tomorrow. And then session 3 the following week. And of course, I'll repeat it for August. And session 2 and session 3 are best taken together. In that, I really delve into what I call managerial accounting. And that's looking at how to create an internal Excel document to better manage your company, make decisions, and know if you're profitable. Very popular class. I suggest anybody that's not comfortable with numbers, jump in on this because you'll really get a lot of assistance with that. And of course, then I help people on one-on-one to make Excel documents customized to their situation. And as you guys know, if you need to get in touch with me for that, Lauren, just contact her. She'll put the information in the chat. I'm also bringing back the what's the best legal structure for my company? What are the tax advantages? Get a lot of signs up for that. There's so much confusion on that, bringing that back. Now, regarding the upcoming shows, my bad, I only have next week up. That's Clarissa Wilson coming back to talk about the nerdy numbers. We're going to delve into QuickBooks again. We always have great conversations when she's on the show. I have a complete lineup for August. I have to collect a little bit more marketing information on some people. That's why I'm not announcing it yet. Got some dates that just moved, but next week I'll give you the announcement for August. We got some cool things coming. And I will tell you this, the first week in August, that first show, I got a really unique guest, guys. You know, I've been kind of bringing people on and we've been talking about the emotional aspect of being an entrepreneur, and we've been playing with that a lot, and everybody's so appreciative of this. The show we've got coming on, once again, it's an entrepreneur because they started a part of their company, but it's a doctor, a medical doctor, and he specializes in how to have the best health within your body by your food choices and different choices you can make in how you operate your body. And he has even extended that to if you have a healthy body and a healthy mind, and then you also want to engage in having a company, it's all together, it's all support. So I thought he is a great guest. So that's a little bit of a heads up, but I'm real excited to have him on the show. He's kind of famous too. He's got a YouTube video. I reached out to him and I got him to agree. So I'm pretty excited about that. Now, let's come back more to now. This is going to be a great show today, as I say they always are. So first of all, let me tell you about my guest today. Dalia, I had told her I was not going to be able to remember her saying Fogenay, which she'll correct me. Dalia Fogenay owns DF Accounting Services. Her company helps clients streamline their operations, improve their financial health, and grow their business. Dalia is known for her ability to simplify complex financial concepts and tailor strategies to each client unique needs. I love this next sentence that she has in her marketing. Outside of crunching numbers, she's an avid learner, always staying updated with the latest trends in the accounting industry, and she's a passionate mentor for fellow entrepreneurs. So with that, welcome, Dalia. I'm so glad to have you on the show today.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so happy to have you. So what we were talking before the show, one of the exciting things, many different aspects that we're going to talk about, but one of the cool things is often I have experts on, subject matter experts, right? And then I have entrepreneurs that I interview. But I think you're the first one that qualifies as both, because you're a subject matter expert, but you're an entrepreneur. You started your own company. So the first thing I want to do is really delve in to the entrepreneur side of your company, because we can go into the numbers, but first I want everybody in the audience to know she's one of you guys. She's one of you guys. A number person. Don't look at her like, oh my God, we're going to talk about numbers. She's one of you. So tell us about your company, how you started it. Give us the background on that.
Yeah, so I've been working in the accounting field for over 11 years. So in 2019, sorry, I have 3 kids, so I mixed them up. In 2021, I was pregnant with my 3rd baby, and something felt different this time. This time I felt that, I wanted to be more involved in my children's life. This was my 3rd baby, so something had to change, right? Like working a 9-to-5, having them start daycare so early on. With baby number 3, I kind of got a wake-up call. Like, I want a different lifestyle. I want to be present for my husband. I want to be present for my children. I want to have flexibility. because even when I was going on maternity leave, you already seen people in the office give you those looks like, I really don't want you to take maternity leave. How long are you going to take? So I kept saying, okay, if it's meant for me to get a client that is going to surpass my salary, I will go in business. So I started my business July. I said I was going to start working in September after giving birth in August. And in July, I actually got a $70,000 client. So
Wow.
I actually got a client that surpassed my salary. Like I never made that amount of money. And that was just with one client. So I knew it was time for me to go into business. So I said, okay, I'm gonna just give myself like 40-day rest. So I really did. So I gave birth on the 19th of August, and then September, I jumped into this journey. And it was a beautiful journey because I was finally able to educate my clients the way that I wanted to, which I am a big advocate on holding my client's hand. A lot of people tell me, a lot of accountants in the field, they don't like that part. They're like, I just want to do my job, not hold the client's hand. But that's what attracted me to opening my own business. I knew the struggles that small business owners go through. A lot of it is lack of financial literacy. So I wanted to be myself. Like I love talking to people. So I wanted to educate them and kind of explain to them, this is why we need books. Because in order for you to come up with a strategy, a financial strategy, you need financials. In order to get financials, you need books. And this is why you need to work with me. So it's such a beautiful thing. And it's been great ever since.
Well, I've had a lot of overachievers on the show. I think giving birth and then launching your own company, you have met and surpassed the overachiever mark. I wanted to say that before I went any farther. You've got that hands down. Tell us a little bit about, I'm using the word because it just comes to mind, but the mechanics of the company. What are the services that you're offering? What partnerships do you have for other services so people can kind of get their head around what it is you're offering?
Yes. So my services start from bookkeeping to payroll. So I really prioritize on wanting to give my clients, wanting to be with them from the beginning of their journey. And I think what makes best accountants is when you're more in control in the financials, right? You know what's going on with the books. So therefore, you don't have to question a different bookkeeper and see why was certain things categorized. So I provide bookkeeping, payroll services, tax strategies, tax planning. We do the taxes. But the beautiful thing about my company is that I know myself that I cannot be a strategist, like a full-on strategist on just on bookkeeping, taxes, on auditing, on payroll. So so I think people overwhelm themselves when they say, I'm the best in bookkeeping and I'm the best on taxes, because it's so much information on each category we discuss, right? So I have partnered with amazing people that strictly just focus on one thing only. And I feel like my business has gotten a lot of success because people don't want to work with someone who is a jack of all trades. They want to work with someone who says, this is the person that focuses on taxes, and I just want to work on with this person on taxes. I want Dalia in charge of my bookkeeping and payroll, and then she'll move on the complex taxes to her partner who just focuses on complex taxes, right? And if auditing is needed, then they know that's their to-go person. And I think by offering them that, hey, you're going to be working with a professional who strictly loves the area that they're working in. It's not, they're not going to offer you bookkeeping services. They're just going to say, no, I'm the tax person. I'm the CPA. No one else. Like, if you have bookkeeping questions, go ask Dalia.
And that's so true. As I was sharing with you before the show, I guess it's been about a year and a half that I became certified as an enrolled agent, right? And I never thought I was going to go do that. I've been the CFO type person my whole life, but I was so close to having an understanding and I was interested. But the only point I'm bringing it up is one of the things that I was amazed when I went through three, tests that you have to go through, the three-hour test and all the studying. First of all, it was much more than I expected, right, to get through the testing of it. But I thought when I got through the tax, I was finally going to see that it's more black and white. My misunderstanding or lack of knowledge made it gray, right? Like, okay, once I understand it, it's going to be really clear. Oh my God, it's not. And so I realized how complex. People are like, are you doing tax returns yet? And I go, no, because I use the information on the basic, but I don't have the experience and I don't have the relationships to have somebody over my shoulder yet. And I don't have the time to invest in learning it. And they're like, but you're certified. I'm like, just passing the test doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. And when they see me acting that way and they're wanting to use TurboTax, it kind of goes, okay, maybe there's a little bit more to this. So I just wanted to mention on that because you're absolutely correct. Now, going back a minute, something you said about when you understand what was done in the accounting and the categories, taking it to the tax, that was kind of a partial beginning of a conversation that I would like to have with you. And as I was expressing to you before the show, I wanted to have a unique conversation about accounting, as the show's known for unique conversations, right? We could sit there and say, well, you must do these forms and this must be accurate and everything. But I want to delve a little bit deeper with a little bit of being humble. I don't know if I can unpack everything here, but at least approaching the topic. And I'm going to make the headline and then I'm going to delve into the subject matter. I see a lot of really confused, if not almost conflicting relationships between the client, the small business, their bookkeeping, their accountant, their CPA, their enrolled agent in the small business arena. I see a lot of problems. I hear clients saying, I hate my CPA. They're not communicating with me. They're not getting back to me. And then I have tax people saying, they're just throwing a bunch of junk at me and it's incorrect. And I can see you're already understanding what I'm talking about. So I want to unpack that a little bit. And what I want to do, though, is I want to get the bookkeepers and the accounting and the CPA's perspective, not just say, well, yeah, client, you're right, they're no good. I want to do a 360. Let's look at it from all the different angles, all the different players, all the different participants, and what can we learn about each other's job? You know how like you would go in and you would do a 360 in a big company and you'd have to sit with this person to see what their job is about and sit with this person and see what their job's about and sit, just to get a full feeling for it. So that's kind of the pathway I want to go down. But I want to first start with a really interesting word, responsibility. And I think that's where we need to start. And I want to first, going on my myth buster, a lot of clients think it's either the accountant's or the bookkeeper's full responsibility for the accuracy of the data. And almost to the point, like if IRS contacts me and the CPA did it wrong, I can say, well, the CPA did it wrong. It's not my fault. And that is the furthest from the truth. So can we first, from a just legal, technical, touch this topic of who is responsible for the accuracy of not only the accounting data, but the tax returns?
All parties are responsible. The person paying the bill and the person doing the work.
Yep.
So that is one of the beauty of my business. My clients have never blamed me for anything, nor blamed the CPA that I have partnered with, for the reason that we're very intentional on how we conduct business with them. We are explaining to them, hey, we're requesting these action steps from you, and this is the reason why. If you don't provide us our action steps, yes, we're glad you paid the invoice. Paying the invoice means I have permission to give you action steps, but I need you to know that nothing can move forward if you don't provide if you don't give us what we're asking for, because then we can't do our job. Being very straightforward with the client from the beginning is so important, because many times we have people who pay us invoices and then they're like, hey, so where's the status on this? And I'll tell them, hey, we're still waiting for your action steps. And they're like, you're so right. It's my fault. I am delaying the process. A lot of times they'll email us and text us and saying, we're delaying the process. I'm so sorry. You know, I've been in court, or I have a busy schedule, a lot's going on. So that's the beauty out of my company that my company has right now. But it's because it takes time. I tell people, a lot of CPAs or bookkeepers and accountants would say, well, I don't have the time to explain to them why the action step is so important. So I have strategized differently. And now what I'm seeing more than ever is that other accounting firms and bookkeeping firms are saying, you know what, Dalia, my clients are blaming me. They're constantly blaming me. I'm constantly chasing after them. I want to outsource the work to you because I know you have the patience and the time to educate them on why this is so important. So it is the client's responsibility, and it's our responsibility as well. So let's say if they turned in a document that's not accurate, or let's say something's not connected on QuickBooks, the bank accounts get disconnected for whatever reason, or something pops up, it's very important for us to reach out to them immediately, as well as accountants, because I think a lot of times we ourselves as entrepreneurs have to hold ourselves accountable as well, right?
Yeah. And one of the words, and I want to make sure that the audience notes this, that you're saying is process. And a lot of times when people especially think of their CPA, well, I would say the bookkeeping as well, they think the process is literally just throwing some documents at them. And so what I got two things that I want to go with here, and we'll talk about this first one a bit more in detail, is when people are looking for new bookkeeping and CPAs, EAs, I tell them that they really should interview several people and vet them to understand what the process is, you know, opening up this concept of processes versus just hand papers and they hand back. One of the complaints I hear a lot from the clients is that the CPAs have no communication with them. They send them the documents and they send their tax returns and they have no communication. And to be honest, I see that a lot as well. So here's where I'm going with the question. It's more of my perception, and tell me if you're noticing it as well. And it's kind of putting the bad thing on the table to discuss openly. I feel as though, once again, in the small business world, I'm seeing more and more, especially tax preparers, that are more like a factory. They're not taking the time. They're not going through the process. They're not asking the questions. I even had a CPA that's in his 70s make a statement, which I thought was very interesting. It goes, my industry is going down the tubes. I'm seeing bad things written. I'm seeing people not taking reasonable salaries on S Corp, you know, as if he was saying my industry is not being as detailed and, you know, hand holding with the client. So I know I just said a lot. Let's unpack that. First of all, do you see situations where the clients have to be more vigilant about interviewing who they're working with because not everybody is taking the time to go through the processes? Let's start there.
Yes. So what I am encountering a lot with people who are in our field is that a lot of accountants are starting to stand their ground. But like you said as well, there's also accountants that are not standing their ground. A lot of accountants are just saying they provide these services and are getting overwhelmed with work. And that's how we go back to just making sure you can be successful in bookkeeping alone. You can be successful in taxes alone, but just making sure that you're fully knowledgeable in the service that you're offering, right? So a lot of CPAs, what I'm noticing, unfortunately, it's a lot of false information going out there, or it's a lot of CPAs that are continuing to bring in work, knowing they have 30 clients to take care of. So it's very unfortunately like situation that's occurring right now. And I think it's because everyone's so focused on hitting that target dollar amount, hitting that target. So they think the more clients, the better. And it doesn't really actually work like that, because I want to have that security that that client's not my client this year. That client's my recurring client. I want to treat that client like it's a Netflix subscription. He's coming, they're coming. And then the beauty of it, if you have a certain number of clients that you know you're going to work with every single year, it's easier for you to say, when you speak to people, it's easier for you to say, you know, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like, you know, I can help you at this moment, but I can recommend you someone who definitely strategizes in this situation. I'm also noticing that, you know, it's just a very interesting topic without trying to offend anyone, because I think becoming an entrepreneur is becoming more and more difficult. But like you said, our job as business owners as well is to interview a handful of people as well. Like there's people who talk to me and they're like, we're going to work with you. No doubt about it. But I also tell them, I do also talk to people who say, I can't afford your services. What should I do? I tell them, well, I have an option. I can teach you how to do it yourself, or the other option that you have, you can interview more people. And that's the beauty of having a lot of options when it comes to choosing a bookkeeper and a tax prep person, right? You have so many different options. You don't have to just work with me just because you talk to me. But it's important as a business owner to know what kind of questions to ask. So whenever someone does a call with me, they found me on my website or on Google, I tell them, I know you're going to interview more people. Please make sure they know these basic things. See how they're going to educate you. Ask them, how do you feel about my business structure? It's so important for you, because I think every success to every business starts from the foundation. The first thing I focus on is, let's find out what you got going on with the foundation, because we may have to make some adjustments before I can do your books. It's so important to have the right set of questions to ask, because therefore you'll know if that person you're talking to is fully knowledgeable, or they're just another person trying to provide you services they're not fully knowledgeable on.
You've said so much that I want to go back and detail out a little bit more. I love what you said. So first of all, I want to bring up the cost, the price, the cost, and the Netflix example. I think that was a wonderful example. Now, once again, my perception, I think that this is where I'm talking to the entrepreneurs. I think that the entrepreneurs are sometimes hiring somebody to do their taxes with almost, I exaggerate a little bit here to make a point, the cost of TurboTax, doing it themselves. They're comparing these two things. I think some of the accountants and CPAs are looking at trying to compete with the turbo, and that's why they're just getting a ton of clients and they're not spending the time communicating. So one of the things that I try to impact on the entrepreneurs is, somehow along the way it got where accounting, bookkeeping, and finance shouldn't cost a lot and you shouldn't spend a lot of time on it. I don't know where it got that way, but in the entrepreneurship Google world, it's like, spend all this money on social media marketing, but squeeze the penny out of the tax person. And I want them to switch that around and say, these are, like you said, the foundation. So you have to spend a certain amount of money to make sure things are correct, because these things can come back and bite you really quickly. And I always tell people, like, I have somebody go, I'm going to start this, S corp, but I don't have any money. I go, well, then don't be in business or be a sole prop. In other words, look at it like, can I afford this meal or not? Don't think I need to go here. And then I'm a big fan of DIY. I always say that. I'll get out a chainsaw because I saw somebody on YouTube make something. Believe me, I'm dangerous with DIY. But I do not think finance and accounting for business owners, W-2, yeah, okay, but business owners is a DIY. Comments on that?
Yes, lots of comments on that. I love what you said. I think the respect for accountants and bookkeeper has really went the opposite direction of what we were known of before. And I honestly believe it's because the market has gotten overwhelmed with flowing bookkeepers, CPAs, and so much more. And that's why it's very important to speak to more than one person and make sure you have a set of questions to ask that person, because that will let you know if this person has a lot of information and knows a lot, because our fields are not that easy. You cannot just open one of our businesses. You have to have a lot of knowledge in what we're doing. But I think what's happening right now, let's talk about the entrepreneur right now. What's happening, a lot of people are going into business and they're thinking the marketing strategy they're thinking is, let me try to beat someone else price. But I need people to understand that when you become a business owner, it's about you. It's not about what's going on. It's about what value do you provide people. and I give a lot of people the car effect, right? Honda decided they wanted to target more affordable cars, and you have the Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce is not worried about what Toyota and what Honda is doing. They are not worried about that at all. They just know, I know my car is good quality, it's luxury. Whoever buys my car, they're trusting that they're going to get a nice car, right? The same thing with our business. My price is my price because I know I am knowledgeable. I know I'm going to keep up with all the compliance. I'm going to keep you up to date with everything. I'm going to educate you. I'm also going to call you and check on you and ask you, like, do you have any questions? I just send over your profit and loss. Let's sit in a Zoom meeting if you want. People pay for that value. Not only that, I see many people that come to me a year later for a cleanup job, and now you want to become a recurring client. And guess what happens when you come to me a year later after starting your business? You end up owing the IRS a lot of money because you were listening to free social media advice. Now, what social media is beautiful for, it's for you to educate if your accountant or bookkeeper is providing you those strategies. That's what I tell people. You don't depend on social media before even working with an accountant. And what we're noticing, and because you came to me a year later, I can't save you money on a whole year behind, right? We need tax strategies for that current year that we're in. So that's what I would say to people. It's so important for you to start off working with a bookkeeper or a accountant, because you might have set up a wrong legal structure on your business. I don't want to throw a website. A lot of people use a certain website all the time because it's so cheap. I don't want to throw that out.
And I do say the same thing. I put 4 letters in it, and then I know, So I know exactly what. I'm so glad you're saying this, because I hear too many people that chose their legal structure thinking it's got a tax advantage because of the social media, when it really doesn't, because they don't even have profit. And I don't know where we got to the point where we're getting tax and legal information off social media. What I like about it is maybe it educates you on questions you need to ask, but this DIY in this area can really impact you in a negative way, as you speak of. Now, one of the things I want to go back and I want to just give a couple more layers to, as you said, a cleanup job, really important to know. And what I tell people a lot of times, and another issue I have, is when people just, without checking, sync their data into their QuickBooks account and then hand that data to an accountant to do their taxes, a CPA to do their taxes. And maybe they got a grant and the grant got recognized as revenue and now they're paying taxes on it. I see stuff like that all day long. And so talk a little more so our audience understands, because I understood exactly when you said cleanup, but our audience may not even caught that word, but they may not even understood how it came about. And it goes back to that word responsibility. So talk about cleanup, why it comes about, and what you need to do to make sure you don't end up in a cleanup situation.
Yeah. So what I'm in accounting, like what I'm recognizing right now is that a lot of people are ready to file their taxes, right? And what's happening now is that the CPA is saying, hey, this is a lot of liability. Your Excel sheet is not going to cut it no more. You're keeping track of your expenses and your income on this paper or whatever you wrote down. The IRS wants to really ideally see that you're using an accounting software, especially if you're conducting yourself as a business owner and you're an S Corp or single member LLC. You're letting them know I am conducting myself as like a professional business. So they're expecting for you to have expenses such as an accounting software. So let's say QuickBooks. I love QuickBooks for everyone. It's such an affordable platform. Now, what's happening is people think they can just say, here are my statements, tax preparer. You come up, you calculate all the numbers. And now what they notice, the CPA is saying, no, you need to work with a bookkeeper. You need books. You need not only just books, you need this to be reconciled, because we all have calculated our own books.
You know, that's a word I want to make sure you say again, because many people don't understand that, are doing their own QuickBooks and they're just syncing the data. And I'm going to extrapolate on this for you to go this. They don't even, I say, well, when's the last time you reconciled the books? And they say, what's that? I cannot tell you how many SBDC clients, when I say that, they have no clue what reconcile means. Can you elaborate? I know I keep saying stop and elaborate because these are key words that people need to understand. So as you're talking about reconciling, tell people what that means physically. What are you doing when you're reconciling in QuickBooks, if you want to refer to that?
Yeah, so reconcile pretty much is a process that you do after you're done categorizing all your income and your expenses. So I highly recommend to reconcile month to month, right? So let's say you enter all your income and your expenses for the month of January. Now, what you do is in February, whenever your statement is available for the month of January, you review your statement and you make sure that the beginning balance and the ending balance is tied to zero. It's an option there that it's QuickBooks has an area where it says reconcile, and that once you get to that window, it should match your beginning and your ending balance. If it does not match your beginning or ending balance, that means you either miss an expense or something is off. You're missing something for sure, or either it's calculated the wrong numbers. So you need to go back and review everything one by one, so you can know that you have the accurate numbers in there.
And the advantage of the month by month is you can catch things and it's easier to clean up. You know, when I have people that didn't reconcile forever, sometimes they've, got a file that's so incorrect. So thank you for that. So people understand there's, I think QuickBooks too has unfortunately sold the entrepreneurship world on just connect all your bank accounts and your credit cards and push a button and it happens, mysteriously. And every time I talk about finance and accounting and QuickBooks on the show, I try to get that out of people's head. And with that, let's talk for a second about the bookkeeping aspect. And I'm going to tell you what I noticed, and you tell me if you notice this as well. In the olden days, I'm going to go to the olden days. When you talked about a bookkeeper, and we're going to expand upon this with definitions of different things as well, but let's start with bookkeeper. When you talk to a bookkeeper to do your books, they had some level of an accounting background or training or classes or certification. Today, if you're hiring a bookkeeper, they may just know QuickBooks. So bookkeepers have become just technology people. I can do a web design or I can do QuickBooks. Web designers have more background often than sometimes these bookkeepers do. So can we talk about that if you're noticing it too, and alert the audience when they interview a bookkeeper that they really have to find out what this person's background and knowledge, are they just a technology person, and understand that they're not the tax person that's choosing possibly the correct categories or the accounting. So now I just mentioned CPA, EA, tax person, accountant, as well as bookkeeper. I mentioned all these names, and even Brenda's got a question. She's like, what's the difference between CPA, bookkeeper, and accountant? So let's go through how to interview bookkeepers, when to know whether they're just technology people, and what are these different titles? What do they mean?
Yes. So with bookkeeping, what I'm noticing is that unfortunately, there's a lot of people selling people, hey, if you want to be a stay-at-home mom or you want to work from home, just start a bookkeeping business. And although I love it, I love the concept, I think as well for people who are considering that to be an option in their lives, they should at least get some experience. Go work for an accounting firm and get that experience, because what happens is people pay someone so much money for a course to even learn the basics of bookkeeping. And then guess what happens? They take that course, they start bringing clients in, and then they get stuck in their clients' books. And now they need to pay more money so they can get educated on how to do books exactly. And it's very unfortunate what's happening on social media when it comes to that. Let's move on to what kind of questions to ask for a bookkeeper. I really recommend asking them how long you've been in the accounting field.
Yeah.
What kind of companies have you worked for? So one of the beautiful things about me, which I felt like I was designed to be this business owner, especially in the accounting field. I live and breathe this. I read a new book every week, and it's always a financial book. And I just do it because I just love it. But one thing that helped me was when I was in the accounting field, I wasn't just I was working for one of the largest staffing agencies, and I was one of their salary professionals. So being a salary professional meant that my job was to go to different industries and different businesses and help develop their accounting team and train the permanent person. So for me, that really put me in a situation where no system can scare me, because I had to learn new systems every single time. And that's also a benefit for my business, because now I'm working with now I have experience for different industries. So I think the questions you need to ask is, hey, how long were you in the accounting industry? What kind of industries did you work in? Like, did you work with, logistics or health department? Like, because you want to make sure that the person has experience in the industry that you're in, right? If you are in event planning, you want to make sure that the person knows like different expenses that an event planner may have. It's a lot that goes into it. A person that does Uber has different expenses than someone who does event planning. Someone who is an engineer for a celebrity has different expenses than someone who has a coffee shop. So it's very important that your bookkeeper knows that, because she's going to be able to categorize your profit and loss statement to knowing where certain things belong. You don't want someone sticking an expense and saying, oh, this is a personal expense. But wait, you're a realtor. You are known to having meals with clients. You're telling this person, oh, no, that's probably a personal meal. So it's a lot of things that go to it. So I highly recommend those two questions: how long you've been in the industry and what industries you work with. That is very, very important. Plus, I need you guys to also know, if someone's been working for the same company for many, many, many years, it kind of should interest you a little bit, because it just means they're only being used to that just one software. So it may be overwhelming for them to even start a business, because they don't know how to handle so many different things thrown at them.
And they may only be exposed to certain chart of accounts, et cetera, because a lot of times people will be like, well, I work only in this industry. Well, that means they may know that industry, but they may, sometimes when people like you moved from industry to industry, and me being a CFO for turnarounds, I always had to come into a new situation, new financial situation, new software, et cetera. You learn how to learn. When you've been in one situation, you didn't learn how to learn. So the flexibility of cross-referencing in the finance industry has to really do with how much you cross-referenced before and how long you're focused on one specific thing. Now, when it comes to taxes, although industries help, a lot of times it's more generic forms, et cetera. It's really the bookkeeping aspect. So one of the questions that Brenda had and people get confused on is a CPA versus an accountant. A CPA is an accountant that was certified to do taxes. And so it's really, at being a CPA, we say accountant, and like you could be an accountant without being a CPA like you. So you're certified in a higher level of understanding of the accounting process. And in big companies, accountants will see over the whole entire processes, the bookkeeping, the input, the accounts, the receivables and payables. Is there anything you want to add to the delineation of the titles? And I'm glad Brenda asked that question, because session 1 of my financial literacy, I go all through the different titles, because I feel like they kind of got melted and confused in our industry today. And so people think they're hiring somebody that does this because they're using that title, but they may not have the experience and the activities of that title. Anything you want to add on that?
Yes, I love this question. Thank you, Brenda. So this question, I love it. I just love it, because initially, every time someone calls you, if you have an accounting firm, they want to say, are you a CPA? That's their first question. But I want everyone to understand that being a CPA means that someone went to school to get certified. That doesn't mean they have experience being in the field. It for sure means they were certified and they learned certain things, what books said, right? But it's very important for you to also know if a CPA has experiences. I myself am not a CPA, and I tell everyone all the time that I'm purposely not a CPA. The reason why is because I don't want someone to say, well, she's a CPA. I trust she would do her job. I want to show people that someone can be an accountant without certification and may know more than the CPA does. So time and time again, I get a lot of clients that have worked with CPAs many times, and they come work with me and they say, you have educated me so much more. You have saved me so much more on taxes than the CPAs I have worked with over my life. So I want everyone to kind of understand that CPA just means a certification. It's like someone who builds houses, someone can go to school for engineering, but we know people who can make houses and never went to school and will build you a beautiful home. The same thing with bookkeepers and CPAs. CPA is someone who is just certified. A bookkeeper is someone who focuses on categorizing your account, focuses on creating the financial statements, because in order for your CPA, let's say your CPA does taxes, because there's many CPAs that don't do taxes. Let's say in order for your tax preparer, your CPA to do your taxes, they need your financials. Most of the time, your CPA or your tax preparer is not doing they're not generating your financials. They're requesting the bookkeeper to give them the financials. You won't see a CPA doing any bookkeeping at all most of the time. It's very hard for them.
Not able to, too. Most of them are not able to. Yeah, and that's what I always explain, because and I love what we're talking about here, because I'm trying to get the audience educated on what the professionals know and what they don't know, because I see that a lot of times people will go to their CPA and they're asking about bookkeeping questions where the CPA might answer it, but they're answering more for the tax form, not so much how you need to keep it internally to be able to understand more what's going on within the financials of your company. And thank you, Marjorie, for putting that in the chat. Marjorie is absolutely correct. And so what I'm going to add to that is that with a CPA, and I'm making up this percentage, it's not true, but I'm just saying half. But when a CPA goes and gets their education and tested, half of it is on accounting processes and half of it is on taxes. Now, like I said, the 50% is not correct. It's just for me to communicate. EAs are tested only on the tax. So one can say an EA knows tax more and doesn't know accounting, unless like me, they're MBA, CFO, so I know the accounting. So you have to really look at their background. But people are asking me all the time, why aren't you doing taxes? You're certified as an EA. I'm like, well, that doesn't mean I can do them because I don't feel confident. And I already told my CPA that I've had for years, I go, when I launch into my EA and I start doing taxes, I don't know, maybe in the next year or so, I'm paying him to review them for me. And I'm just doing that because I need to be in an environment where I'm learning the practice of doing tax returns on a lot of different people. And so it comes to your point on just because you're certified. I always tell people, just because I passed the test doesn't mean I know what I'm doing on all the forms and all the situations. So one of the things that I like to say when we talk about this is for entrepreneurs to take back their power, for entrepreneurs to take the driving seat and be proactive and ask, whether you're talking to an EA, a CPA, a bookkeeper, ask the questions and demand that you get the answers. I think too many people, when they talk with anybody in the finance accounting industry, they feel as though they're up here and they're down here, and they create this superior, like they know more, and they just go, okay, they know it, they'll take care of me. And I'm trying to get people to reverse the positions and you be the power and the authority to ask the questions.
I also want to say, I see some of the comments. So that's not our intention. Our intention is not to bring down CPAs. Matter of fact, I have partners that are CPA because I know certain levels of taxes, we need a CPA in our team to represent them, right? To represent our clients, because as an accountant, unfortunately, we can't represent them, right? But what we're saying is we're trying to change the perspective of people who are entrepreneurs in different industries, who feel like they only need to work with a CPA. And that's not necessarily true. You can work with an accountant, and an accountant can provide you services as a CPA can, to a certain extent, of course, not through the auditing phase, not through the representation. But I absolutely respect CPAs because it takes a lot of, and EAs, right? It takes a lot of dedication Lori's an EA. So it takes a lot of dedication for you guys to go through the schooling process, through the compliance. It's so much that you guys do. But what we're trying to say is we want to help the small business owner, right? This is small business owners. We want them to take the stress out of their shoulders and say, you know what? At this moment, I can't afford to pay a CPA, but I also want them to feel confident that even though they're not working with a CPA, an accountant can provide them a lot of value as well. So that's what we're trying to say. So I hope, just wanted to make that stuff clear to you guys.
Absolutely. And also what I'm trying to do is put some responsibility back on the entrepreneurs too, so they know that they have to make sure their documents are correct. No, I am in no way trying. I mean, God, CPAs, they go through taking all the people's different numbers and figuring them out and doing it within those tight time frames. Trust me, I have nothing but admiration. I am trying to make sure that everybody gets in a room and understands more what everybody's doing, so the outcome can be accuracy on tax returns, accuracy on bookkeeping, and using those internal numbers for decision making. If I was to say one sentence of the ultimate goal, it's accuracy and access and usage of your financial data for internal decision making. That is what I would call a beautiful finance, bookkeeping, accounting world.
Yes. I think what we want everyone to get out of this is that you can work with a CPA, but just like working with an accountant, you have to know if that CPA or that accountant has experience. That's the ultimate message we want you guys to get out of it. It's your responsibility to ask the questions to know if that person has the experience that you need in order to take your business from starting point to 6 to 7 figures. So that's what we want to get out of it. We talked about accountants as well, that there's a lot of accountants that say they're accountants but don't have experience. The same thing happens with CPA. The only difference is that we're letting it be known, because a lot of people are not speaking about how a lot of CPAs are not educated in this area. I actually have a lot of CPAs and tax preparers and EAs that come to my firm and say, Dalia, I sold a bookkeeping, a cleanup job, and I don't know how to do bookkeeping at all. And me, myself, am surprised. I'm like, you've been in the industry for 10 years. What do you mean you don't know how to do bookkeeping? Or they'll call me and they say, hey, I'm looking at someone's books, but I don't know where to find this and this. Can you help me? So that's what we're just trying to tell you guys, that just make sure who you're working with, ask the right questions, because even a CPA, most of the time, they just want to work on the taxes. So they may not be able to answer other questions for you. So I just believe that the best thing to do is to find an accounting firm that can offer you, that you know who's doing the books and that you know who's doing the taxes. Yeah. That's why I believe in not doing it all myself. I believe in partnerships, because for me, in order to provide the best value, I have to, like, for me, I love bookkeeping. And a lot of people look at me as the little guy. Like, you love bookkeeping. I'm like, bookkeeping comes with a lot of responsibility. I have to think how the CPA or the tax preparer wants these books done to best benefit the client. I have to be in relationship with the CPA and tax preparer, because every CPA and tax preparer categorizes things differently. Some CPAs, tax preparers don't even want sub accounts. Right. They just want the main one.
Yep.
So that's our responsibility as accountants, is to be able to communicate for you. It's to a point where my clients they hand over the financials to the CPA, and then the CPA doesn't call the client. The CPA calls me, and they're like, "Hi, Dalia, nice to meet you," and I answer all the questions. As a business owner, you want to work with an accountant that just takes all of that out of your shoulders, because reality, you don't know the answers to those questions.
Yeah, and I can't believe we're already to the end of the show. I have to say that I definitely had a belief that this is a very important topic to discuss, and I can see from the conversation and the comments it is. And I think one way to wrap it up is two comments that were made that are so dead on. I'm going to kind of paraphrase, but as Alicia says, this is important to understand, especially people that are new to this. And it really brings up that it is confusing, because even with our conversation, you start going, well, why would a CPA? No, well, no, they focus on the tax forms. They may not know QuickBooks, but the QuickBooks person may not know the tax forms. And for many people, this is new to understanding the division. And as Marjorie says, there is a value in everyone, and each one plays a different role. I love that, Marjorie. That is the main point we're trying to make, and understanding what those roles are. So that was a great conclusion. And I can tell, I got to say, I think I'm going to ask you to come back and we'll delve into this topic a little bit more, because I have been noticing there's such a murkiness and misunderstanding, and it causes, like I said, confusion and conflict. And the more we can educate people to be helpful to understand what to ask, the questions to ask, who to choose, how to choose people, that's where we need to go. Because the point is, face it, whatever business you're in, you're going to have to deal with financials, accounting, bookkeeping, and tax returns. I don't see that going away anytime soon. They may change the way we market. It may be the internet, it may be Instagram, it may be some new way to do marketing, but these core fundamentals of business are not going away. So we might as well get our hands around it. So Dalia, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and having this just really unique and kind of strange, a little bit conversation, but it really did delve into a lot of what is confusing and challenging for people to understand. And you were able to present it from so many different perspectives. And that's what made the conversation so enriching. So I really want to thank you for coming here and shedding some information for us. So Lauren, I'm going to invite you back. We went a little bit over today. I'm going to invite you back and close up. Wasn't that interesting, confusing, and also educational at the same time?
1,000%, all of the above. But like you said, Lori, to Marjorie's point, I think there is value in everyone, right? Everyone plays a role. And
Absolutely.
I think this session just thoroughly explained the various roles. So I enjoyed it 100%. Numbers are still a little bit scary to me, but I really enjoyed it. It was really good. Thanks, Dalia. You're amazing.
Thank you, guys.
So with that, I want to thank our frequent flyers, as I always do, and those people that are new to the show, and all the great comments. I saw some of them in the chat. I had with the question, you guys really added to this conversation. And do a shout out if you're like, wait, we want to do some more on this. We want to hear some more. Let me know. I'll have this topic back on again. I get this funny feeling that we could delve in even a little bit more deeper and help with questions to ask and stuff. So shout out, send an email to Lauren if you want to meet with me as well. We got Dalia's information into the chat, so you can reach out to her firm and find out more if it's a good fit for you for her firm. So once again, thank you to the frequent flyers. Thank you to the new people. Thank you tuning in for Small Biz Talk with your host, Lori Williams. I will see you next week. Lauren, you'll close it down for us and follow up with everybody that needs help. Bye, Dalia. Thank you again.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
Lori. Bye, Dalia. You two have a great day. Thank you to everyone who is still with us. Please be sure to scroll up so that you can see the contact information for Dalia. I've also included my email address per usual, so that if you'd like to set an appointment with Lori, you can. Give us your feedback. We'd love to hear what sort of content you want to hear about. And if you are interested on being one of our guests, please, by all means, let us know. All right, we will see you next week. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, all of you, Christine, Adonai, Alicia, Marjorie, who's this Manuel, Brenda, everyone who, oh, Robert, I see that you are raising your hand. Go ahead and drop that into the chat so that I can help you out. I was just going to say thank you to all of you who have joined us today. I know I haven't named everyone, but thank you. Thank you. We will see you next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. for another session of Small Biz Talk, solutions for your small business. Take care.